All right.
Amazing. So the next question is from Maritza, I believe, and she asked, so if we're already vaccinated, we can't do the new vaccine?
So so new vaccine, it's so complicated now that we're talking about two diseases, but I'm assuming it's that new COVID booster that we're talking about. And at least what it looks like now is that every adult, so 18 and over, will be eligible for that booster. So for most people, that will be their fourth dose of COVID vaccine. So their second booster. If you've already had two boosters, it'll be your third booster. So 5 doses. And I assume for immune compromise, most of those people have already had 5 doses. This will be dose number 6. So yes, and exactly what age they're going to approve it for, that's it looks like, all I can say is it sounds like it will be all adults, but sometimes we do get surprises. And I think that when it first comes into the state, the group that will be targeted will be people who are above 65 and people with immune compromise, just because they're the most vulnerable to COVID. But as supply increases, as we get more supply, then it looks like it will be open to everyone. And so if you're someone who just got a booster, then you'll probably have to wait 2 or 3 months to get the new booster. But if you got your booster like 2 or 3 months ago, you should be able to get it. And again, whether it's going to be 2 months or 3 months or 4 months, that's kind of the decision of the FDA and the ACIP. So we'll know, hopefully we'll know more in 2 weeks what the exact timing is.
Thank you. And just one quick announcement that I saw that someone put in the chat is that noting that please note that tribal communities and the Bureau of Indian Education schools may now have different COVID-19 testing or isolation and quarantine guidance from the CDC or the NMDOH. So it would be good to familiarize yourself with guidance for the tribal community or the Bureau of Indian Education schools. You may need to work with their visit.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. And that really goes for any school and any workplace. I mean, even DOH, they're still like kind of figuring out what the guidance is going to be. So kind of this guidance is just guidance. It's never, anyone can put stricter rules into place. And, it's kind of that community transmission map. Like if you're in the bright red in your county, it may make sense for schools to say, okay, when we're in this high transmission mode, everyone's wearing a mask in school. And, people and may still send people home who've been exposed, or, like people can make stricter rules than what the guidance is. But yes, great point.
So thank you for sharing that. Another question we have from Maureen is Truman Center doing testing for monkeypox, and are patients on PrEP encouraged to get tested?
Yeah, great question. So Truman Center has been doing some testing. I'd say one of the limitations of a lot of our partners is just hard to get people in kind of as quickly as they need to. But I think Truman is really trying to look at their workflows and have tested some people. One of the things, so I would say for those on PrEP, HIV PrEP, my recommendation for them would be to register and get vaccine, just assuming that that's a group that has self-identified as a little higher risk, and active, a group that's active sexually. There is no, like, you have to really have the rash to get tested. So, when we've had patients who have been exposed and they come in and they don't have a rash and say, well, can I just get a test to see if I got it from that person? And there is no test like that. So basically for that group, we say, let's get you vaccinated because it might provide some protection. It might prevent the monkeypox from happening. And if you develop a rash, come back and we will see you. And again, I use the word rash. I don't think it's really the right word. It's just hard for, you know, there's not another good word, but they tend to be like isolated, like some people have called them sores, lesions, bumps. Sometimes they're in a cluster, but it's not like when you get hives, you know, and like your whole arm gets kind of a rashy look, or you know, or chicken pox, where sometimes back in the day we were all covered with them head to toe. Sometimes this is, you know, they're not that many bumps and they're a little bit hard to tell what's going on. So, you know, when you're talking to patients, you don't want to make them like, well, if you don't have a rash head to toe, then you don't have monkeypox. It can be subtle. So for PrEP patients, again, I would encourage them to register for vaccine, and we do that through right now. They call that COVID hotline, the 855-600-3453 number, and that will, someone will register them for vaccine and actually get them scheduled very quickly at a DOH site, or yeah, it's mostly DOH giving it now. Let's see.
Couple other questions. Another question is, I hear people from Maureen, I hear people are asking about polio vaccine and if there are boosters needed or available. Is there only one case in the US so far?
So I think there's more than one case in New York, although I don't want to swear to that, but it sounded like that was the case. So right now it's not, you know, it's worth paying attention to, because I think also in England there might have been a couple cases of polio as well. But basically, if you're fully vaccinated to polio, you really should be well protected. So no booster recommendation now. I do think that, let's see, and I probably shouldn't talk on too much about this because I like read and it's not like totally fresh in my mind, but I think for travel to certain places, there may be a booster recommendation, but it's not a general recommendation at this time. And it's usually 4 doses of the IPV, with the last dose given at 4 years old or after is a full vaccination for polio. So I will read up on that and about those recommendations, and we can talk about it next time. Thank you for bringing, I know it's kind of crazy times out there with viral illnesses.
No, I feel like we eradicated it in 1979. So it's crazy that there are cases circulating in the US.
Yeah.
Rocio asks, does the Novavax vaccine protect against shingles?
It does not. So still we have the Shingrix that protects against shingles, and Novavax just COVID. Although it sounds like it should, doesn't it? But yeah, Novavax is just COVID.
Are there any other questions? Oh, Maureen says, thank you very much for these answers and your info sharing. Are there any other questions about any of the topics we discussed, or any other questions about public health or healthcare, COVID, monkeypox, polio, all the above? Questions? You can raise your hand in English or Spanish.
I just have a very quick question. With the vaccines for the children, do they also have like vaccine 1, then booster 3, or is it just one vaccine for them in total?
So they basically, quick question, long answer, but let's see. To summarize, it does depend on the age they are, but basically every vaccine, so it's basically Pfizer and Moderna that are approved under age 18. All of them have at least a 2-dose requirement to be fully vaccinated. And then for some ages, 3-dose, that's like the 6-month-old with 6-month to 4-year-olds who are getting Pfizer. It's actually 3 doses for their primary series. And then there are booster dose recommendations for most of them. For this new booster, it may be that the Pfizer one, for Pfizer, 12 and up is basically considered adult. They get the same dose. So it may be that this new booster will be approved 12 and up, and it's also possible that it'll only be 18 and up. We don't know. It looks like Moderna will only be approved 18 and up. But yes, they do, the kids have a booster recommendation except for those very youngest ones.
Okay, thank you for that.
Amazing. Another couple other questions. Is Novavax for adults only?
Novavax is 18 and up only. Yep.
And will monkeypox be a required vaccine in the near future?
I don't see it being a required vaccine. It's certainly not in the near future because there just isn't enough vaccine. In fact, like the FDA just approved getting 5 doses out of each vial. So the little vials used to be single dose, and you drew up the whole vial, which was 0.5 ml, and gave it in the back of the arm subcutaneously. So in order to extend the supply, now we can pull up 5 doses from here at 0.1 ml, and it's going to be given intradermal, like those PPDs. So like on the forearm, and then you know, where you can see that little bleb. I don't know how many of you have had a PPD placed, but a lot of people in healthcare end up have had one at some point. They're kind of, anyway, they're sort of being replaced by a blood test, but that's how it's going to be given until the supply is better. So I don't see it being required just for low risk people anytime in the future, in the near future.
Amazing. Thank you. Hopefully. And then another question is, because we've been seeing a lot of mosquitoes here in New Mexico, have there been any cases of the West Nile virus?
So to my knowledge, no human cases of West Nile virus. I think the first, they do like randomly test the mosquito population, and West Nile was identified in the Albuquerque area mosquito population. So, but that's different than a human case. So they are recommending now, if you're out and about, that people wear bug repellent until the end of West Nile season, which I'm not exactly sure. I'm kind of guessing that's like into the fall when it gets cold.
And a question from Yvette is, are there risks doing the monkeypox vaccines intradermally?
So it does not look like there's a study from 2018 that this vaccine did get approved by FDA in 2019. And there was a study where they did give it intradermally to people. And it sounds like from that study, people did get a fair amount of redness at the site where the vaccine went in, and some soreness, but otherwise, you know, no risks, except for, you know, for every vaccine, if you're allergic to the components in the vaccine. And this one, it's basically, it has trace amounts of 2 antibiotics, ciprofloxacin and gentamicin. And then also it's, you know, if you're very allergic to eggs, then it's not recommended to get the vaccine. But otherwise, just the intradermal administration doesn't look to be risky or dangerous or have worse side effects than giving it behind the arm. But we haven't actually started doing that yet because it is a technique that isn't like I said, it's not that common. A lot of like I would say for doctors, like we don't give a lot of PPDs necessarily. So I have to say I'm not well trained in it. And then what we noticed in our nursing population, our nursing group, that the older nurses definitely have given a lot of PPDs. And then, like I said, some of the younger nurses, not as much, because it's not as common to test for tuberculosis. Like we all used to be tested for tuberculosis in school and, you know, every job you had. And now that's kind of like the recommendations are like less frequent testing for tuberculosis. And that's mostly how people got practice doing that intradermal. So anyway, we are all getting trained up on Monday on doing the intradermal. So, you know, we all feel comfortable with it again. And so next time we'll have a little more information on like how that's going for, you know, from the patients we're giving it to.
Thank you, Dr. Miranda. This next question's a big one. I'll read it in Spanish and then English, just because Rosa posted it in Spanish. Dr. Miranda, ¿cuál es su opinión o qué cree usted que está pasando en nuestra humanidad, que estamos viendo estas enfermedades virales que creíamos que casi estaban erradicadas? So, what is your opinion, or what do you think that's happening in our humanity, that we're seeing all these viral infections resurface that were pretty much already eradicated?
Yeah, I think that is a really interesting question. And I mean, the thing that jumps to mind quickest is just, you know, overall more vaccine hesitancy or resistance in some places. So, you know, I think, you know, that's contribute, and I think this is something that got, you know, that was already trending before COVID, but, and, you know, some of it is parents are growing up, they've never seen these diseases that like have so affected, you know, affected generations before. So kind of that importance or just understanding how protective vaccines have been, what a game changer they've been for, like, you know, saving children's lives, you know, maybe isn't as immediate as some, you know, again, some of us who've been around longer and really understand how kids used to die of pertussis and other childhood diseases. So that's one thought. And then I also just think that, like, you know, obviously travel across the world, which is cool in so many ways, but it, you know, when you look at that monkeypox map and just how it's now, you know, it started out in maybe 8 or 9 countries in Africa, and now there's literally a case in almost every country in the world. It just, you know, we're just a really mobile society. So, and I've heard theories, I mean, I know less about it, but just like global warming might be changing some dynamics, and especially of like human pet interaction, or not pet, animal interaction, because, you know, what habitats have been threatened, and so that might bring animals and humans more in contact. So anyway, it's a big question. Yeah, and those are just some of my thoughts, but probably there's a lot more to it.
Thank you. That's, yeah. Are there any other questions or any other comments anyone has? Nothing at all. If not, we'll wait a couple more minutes, but we just wanted to share one thing. So yesterday, I believe, there was an event where the governor honored Dr. Miranda and Dr. Laura for their amazing work. And so we just wanted to celebrate Dr. Miranda for all the amazing work she's been doing, and Dr. Laura, and Venice is here for those of you who know Venice. And Venice had mentioned how community health workers were also celebrated, just because of all the work that they're doing. Dr. Miranda, if you would like to tell anything about it or share anything.
It was a really nice event. I always sort of leave those things feeling like, it always feels weird to be like singled out or they're just like no one does it alone. And there's just been such an amazing team across all of New Mexico. I mean, it's just, so I think both Dr. Grace and the governor were really great, and Dr. Laura, about kind of continuing that message of like, it's really taken all of us. But it was a nice event to celebrate just kind of the collective work that we've all done on COVID and just keep continuing to do. I think there was some thought like, is this going to really make it feel like it's over? But I think everyone's pretty clear it's not over. We're still out there, but it's still, nice to pause and just kind of reflect back on the last 2.5 years. So yes, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll also share this secret picture that I also got. You can work on COVID and have fun. And if anyone else has any pictures of them working on COVID or with your team, please do send it our way, because we just love to see it and love to share, because sometimes we recognize how this work can be challenging and can be hard. And especially a lot of us have been working on it since 2020. And so 2020, right? And so at this point, sometimes even pictures like this and celebrating each other and, just seeing people happy can give hope. So thank you for all that you do. And you have all these messages.
Thank you all.
Look at all these powerful women. Congratulations. So thank you for that. If anyone else would like to say something, or either in the chat or unmute your mic and give some gratitude to Dr. Miranda.
This is Dr. Bernal, and I would like to thank Dr. Durham for all the information that she gave us. A little comment about why do we have prevalence of morbidity and mortality of many viruses and bacteria nowadays. We have to go a little bit backwards in the history of these changes in the bacteria, viruses, and all the microorganisms. This is probably starting when we have more changes of our ecology, climate warming, overcrowded society, mobility, use of antibiotics in a random way without good backgrounds of how to manage infections, as well as all the contamination that we have by industrial products. The microorganisms evolve, try to adjust all those things. And we have, since the 70s, 80s, many researchers that were showing already the new appearance or reappearance or rebound or more aggressive microorganisms since we have the globalization and industrialization of the world, as well as a mobilization and tourism and airplanes and easy way to go from one side to another one. So she was completely right. So it's not new. As she said, I am old and I saw many illnesses that fortunately I saw during my lifetime that they were suppressed by or disappear by the immunization. And probably because we forget and we try not to think and we don't give information of the new to the new generation with more objective manners. We don't see, we don't believe, we don't care, we don't. Yeah, there are many families that decide not to immunize for polio or for measles, but they never saw one. So unfortunately, we did not give exactly the information to all the generations with more objective manner to be aware and that those illnesses were so prevalent before, and thanks for the immunizations that change. So that's another topic that we have to probably that Durham is going to help us about exactly what is immunization. What is it? We have the passive and active, and I don't want to go there. She knows all those things, and she will be very clear more than me in that matter. So thank you so much again, Dr. Durham.
Well,
And
thank you for that.
I am so honored to hear you. I am from Salud Morena, and I just want to celebrate all the achievements that my group that have been doing. And one of the big way to contribute to the rural community is education. So we are working hard in that. It's difficult, but it can happen. And New Mexico and all the southern states need it, especially our state that I love dearly, needed to reach that communities with a little more information and knowledge in an easy way, with love, understanding, and accepting their traditions and the way of living. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Great, thank you for that. Very wise words. And we will put immunization, we talk about it fairly frequently, but mostly in the COVID context. And I think it might be a good point, sort of expanding a little bit on that next time.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much.
There's a question in the chat asking who it was that was just speaking.
Would you like to share your name in the chat just so we can all celebrate you or just appreciate you for the comment you made?
Okay, my name is Dr. Ruth Bernal,
Dr. Ruth, okay.
pediatrician, medical director of Salud Morena, that is working with you all in the program of COVID immunization.
Thank you so much.
We are trying to expand more about all the immunizations, comorbidities, and COVID. And our team have wonderful, great women and men that they are so devoted to the rural areas, especially the way in the corners of our state. And they're working hard, and they're amazing women with a lot of experience. I am so proud to be in Salud Morena.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bernal.
Yeah, if you have other thoughts about what would be helpful for the group or want to join in presenting slides or whatever, I just put my email in the chat, but thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bernal. And you're more than welcome to support us in any, like how we can support you and support us and collaborate together, because you have so much wisdom that we would love to learn from.
Thank you so much. I am sorry. My My phone is not working too good. Thank you so much. And I appreciate your invitation. I will be honored. And I will let you know what are our goals in Salud Morena about education. That I would love to learn from you all, especially Dr. Durham. And I would like to share with you what I have been learning through my career, 40 years of being a pediatrician. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.